Hi there, and welcome to the very first Gravely Gorgeous video. What I'll be doing in this series of videos is taking you through the process of creating a gargoyle from start to finish. Bucky, the piece that I'm working on here, required a base, so I rolled out some clay and then cut it into a rough 6x6 inch square. With the base defined, I can then move on to the body. It's really just a lump of clay right now with a couple of legs attached, but I'll be refining this during the whole sculpting process. You can see that I'm using the iPad there as my photo reference. A lot of artists like to have their reference photos printed out, but I find that the iPad works just as well because you can zoom in on a specific area and you can have tons of photos, especially if you're taking your own, which I always recommend. So at this point, it's really rough and just needs some refinement. I'm spending some time here just getting the legs into the right shape, sculpting the body, and even adjusting the edges on the base itself. Since he's going to have wings, the sides of the body are not that important. I just need to get the rough shape. But he did need a bit more thrust. He needed a little longer neck. And so I've begun sculpting on the head as well. And that's going to take a while. That's going to be the most prominent part. So I need to concentrate on getting the proportions and the details right. So it's a matter of just adding clay, taking it away, carving until you have what you want. Bucky has very angular features, so I'm trying to keep as sharp an edge as possible. Right now it's just a matter of shaping with my fingers, but down the line I'll get in with some tools to make those flat edges and sharp corners. Now that I've got the head roughed in, I can move on to some of the other forms. I'm shaping the wings and adjusting the neck at this point. I've gone ahead and filled in some of the area underneath the wings because when I go to mold it, I don't want a huge void there that'll get filled with mold material. It'll make it impossible to remove the cast. Bucky has a crown, which has some interesting design elements to it. It sits on top of his head, and yet it also is sort of part of his head. His two horns are incorporated into the design of the crown. There's a half rosette at the base of the crown, which continues on into the spiral of his horns. Above the rosette is a set of petals or dimples, and these echo the petals of the rosette itself. And then to top it all off are two bells or balls that remind me rather of a jester's cap. These balls also echo the shape of his horns and the placement of his horns, so I felt it was important to get the crown correct, and in doing so I ended up modifying it a number of times. I'm back to working on the wings now, just trying to get the shape right, the curve, how they blend into the base, and eventually matching the left and the right wing so that they're symmetrical. I tried to blend in here the edge of the wing, the underside, with the body so that although it'll look like there's a deep gap, it actually won't go very far. This will be important when we go to do the molding. As I mentioned before, you don't want to have huge crevices filled with molding material because it'll be impossible to pull the positive out. Bucky's wings also have this kind of rosette detailing on them, which again echoes the crown that he's wearing. So now I've begun to shape his shoulders where the wings attach to the body, and I'm matching his right hand wing to his left hand. Bucky has a bit of birdie in him. He's got these feathery legs that end in kind of talon-like feet. And you can see that I'm beginning to work on those feet and his legs at this point. The more refined I get, the more I tend to use the tools because they'll give me a sharper edge. I will go back and use my fingers to smooth things out. You may be wondering about these bright pink tools I'm using. They're cheap plastic cake decorating tools, and I find that they're just as effective as stainless steel or other things, as long as you're not working with really hard clay or trying to carve into wax. That being said, that doesn't mean you shouldn't invest in good tools. A really good tool can make a job a whole lot easier. Okay, I think that just about does it for this video. The next video will finish the sculpt, then we'll move on to molding and casting. So I hope you'll stay with us through this. Please like this video, please subscribe to our feed, and go ahead and visit us at www.gravelygorgeous.co.uk.